Good morning. Today our gospel lesson and message is based on the familiar, beloved parable of the prodigal son. Taking just a little different look at that, but still focusing on Jesus' message of forgiveness for all that he secured for us. Thank you.
If you've ever watched a good magician, his tricks and illusions will leave you scratching your head and saying, "How do you do that?" Magicians will tell you that much of what they do happens by way of distraction. If the magician can get you looking intently in one direction, then you won't be noticing what he's doing elsewhere. So the trick will leave you surprised, stunned, amazed. Well, get ready for a little sleight of hand this morning. This is the third parable from that famous chapter of Luke, the 15th chapter. Jesus tells in response to the criticism he's been receiving from the religious elite, the creme de la creme, the Pharisees and Sadducees, who were certain of their own righteousness. And so, in the storytelling fashion of his day, this third illustration in the series is designed to be the real clincher. And in this, Jesus has done a pretty good job of distracting even today's hearers, because most of us call this the parable of the prodigal son. Now, certainly that younger son lives up to the title. His request for the father to divide his inheritance is an implicit wish for his father's death. Almost as bad, he puts the family business at risk by demanding his inheritance, leaving the father with less working capital to carry on the business. And then he goes and fritters away that precious capital on himself in immoral, reckless ways. And who profits? Well, those Gentiles who were serving all the goods. Immoral, unwashed, unclean Gentiles. And to top it all off, word of his shameful request no doubt spread throughout the village back home. The family is now humiliated, and the villagers are upset because their father's financial ability to be their patron, to provide jobs and to buy their services and goods has been diminished. What a jerk! Who of us wouldn't think, "I hope he gets what he deserves"? And Jesus knows our thoughts. He assures us that the young man did not escape consequences of his foolishness. "Ha! Joke's on you, buddy. Where did all your friends go when the well ran dry?" And the only work he could find? Feeding pigs. Totally humiliating for any Jew. No, not one of his newfound drinking buddies bothered to help him out now. "Ha! You get what you deserve." Serves him right. Had Jesus stopped here, we'd be reassured that the wheels of justice still turn effectively. We'd see karma. We'd see what goes around comes around. But that's not the end of the story. Jesus tells us that the young man woke up, came to his senses. Yes, the light bulb came on. Man, Dad would just take me back as a slave. My life would sure be a whole lot better than this. So he packs up what he's got, and on the way home begins rehearsing his apology. "Dad, I've really messed up. I'm not worthy to be called your son, but could you find it in your heart to give me a job as one of your hired hands?" Now, if you're not gloating over the way he blew his inheritance, you're certainly pleased that now he has to eat crow. He has big plans for himself, but they all came to nothing. The best he can do is be a hired hand. "Ha! You thought you'd come home the big man. You thought your big ideas would make you somebody, but look, you're just another name on your daddy's payroll." The magician has our attention. And then he rivets that attention even more forcefully. Just when you expect Dad is going to make that kid bow down in the dirt, lick his dad's sandals, and grovel for mercy, Jesus applies an unexpected twist. runs out, putting aside all dignity and formality, running out to greet him as though he was some great dignitary. So he throws a lavish party. Best food, best drink, puts the ring on his finger indicating he has the authority of the Father. He gets the best clothes and shoes, sets him out, and starts to celebrate. What? That's not fair. We protest. But the magician smiles and continues. Because now it's time to introduce the character he knows we're all eager to identify with. The older son. And when Dad explains what all the hoopla is about, the older son expresses our indignation. Why, I've slaved for you all these years. I've never disobeyed you. Never gave you any grief. You never threw me as much as a pizza party. I'm not going along with this travesty. I'm not celebrating the return of this son of yours as though he were some sort of hero. And we bystanders are thinking, finally, someone with a thinking, clear head on his shoulders. Someone speaking the voice of justice. What's standing up for what's right. This indulgent father, he must have spoiled that kid. He needs a wake-up call. And thankfully, the older son has the guts to speak up and deliver the goods. And the magician smiles even more because he has us firmly in his grasp. We can't wait to hear how Dad is going to answer that. Will he wake up and smell the coffee? Yeah, what do you say to that, Dad? Son, he begins. Maybe the effect of that word escaped you because you were all in for harsh treatment of that prodigal. But in case you missed it, the elder son has just heaped quite an insult on his dad. I've slaved for you all these years. Oh, really? Is that how you think of your generous dad? A slave master? You think I've made your life confining and miserable? You think I've treated you as just one of the hired hands, only giving you slave-quality food and slave-quality accommodations? Oh, and then there's the other words he uses. This son of yours. Are you saying you aren't part of the family? Are you saying that you and he are not brothers? That you don't have the same mother? Dad has chosen to ignore these insults. Son, he says. And then he reassures him that this welcome of home for his brother has done nothing to damage their own relationship. All that I have is yours. But we had to celebrate. Necessity compelled it, for this brother of yours who was dead is alive, and he who was lost is found. Now we know, now we get it. The sleight of hand trick distracted us with all this prodigal son stuff to sneak up on us and confront us with our own elder son sins of resentment. To face us with our own elder son sins of begrudging forgiveness to those we don't think deserve it. To meet us with our own elder son sins of disrespect for a father whose love for us is still intact because he has had mercy on all. On those whose sins are visible, and on those whose sins are hidden away in their heart. And thanks to his skillful storytelling, we don't even see it coming. So how does the story end? Well, how you finish it says a lot about you. If you think the elder son should hold his ground, refuse to enter the celebration, begrudge his father's grace, well, Jesus shakes his head in sorrow. You don't get it that you are in God's family by the same forgiving love that sent the Father's Son to the cross for those sinners that you think are worse than you. Yes, it's fitting that those who do not forgive as they have been forgiven remain outside the party. That's where they will spend eternity, outside the celebration of God's love and forgiveness in Jesus. But those who rejoice with the angels over one sinner who repents, will enter into that feast. And we enter it by that same act of love by which the Father who gave Jesus into death on the cross, that same love by which the prodigal is welcomed back. They will find just as much a Father's welcome as any prodigal. So, how does the story end for you? Amen. You may rise.